All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti for the home of the unbiased conversations in professional wrestling. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and in about 90 minutes from now, Ralph, it will be Full Gear, the first pay-per-view of the AEW Dynamite era. And we have, I believe, is it 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches on the card tonight. So let's get down to it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. And if you want to support, join us, make a donation to the super chat. We'll answer your question there quickly. And just join the conversation in the chat anyway. So, Ralph, we'll start with the buy-in match. Priestley versus Britt Baker.
Yep.
This one actually has been built on since the Casino Battle Royale at All Out. But then this one kind of fell off a little bit. But then on the countdown to Full Gear, we got a package with Britt Baker and cutting a really cool promo, putting over her finishing move with the mandible claw, or she calls it the lockjaw, and with all the different vernacular that she was using to describe what kind of pain she could put into Priestley. Who do you think wins this one?
I think Britt Baker is going to win this one. And like you said, this is probably one of the feuds that was kind of promoted, especially going back before they actually had their TV deal. I think that one of the things that might have hurt this feud was really the fact that I think Britt Baker was battling some injuries.
She was concussed for a while.
Concussion for a little bit, so she was out. But definitely a match that I think people are excited for. I think that people are a little disappointed it's not on the main card.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, I think it's a good way. It's good to actually have a match that people are going to be interested on the buy-in, because the whole point of a pre-show or a buy-in is really to try and encourage people to buy the pay-per-view. So, this will make for a good opening match. I think they'll give it a good 15 minutes, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. It's the only match on the buy-in.
Pardon me?
What? Oh, geez. It's going to be a long night here watching Full Gear. I could already tell. Ralph's got his Bud Light. I got my H2O. But back to what I was saying. Usually the buy-in has consisted of 3 matches. This is the only time it's actually one.
Right.
So, I'm okay with that. I think possibly what could be, there might be some matches that are not aired. Like, I know the tickets say 7 o'clock to start the show.
Yeah.
So chances are it's going to be 7 o'clock is a match for AEW Dark, because they released the Dark matches from Charlotte already. They released them last night. So they're going to have something for Tuesday. I would think they would do something along the lines of, something like this.
Yeah.
2 matches before the buy-in starts, and then we get Priestley versus Britt Baker.
Yep.
I'm actually going to go with Priestley taking the win here. I think, especially when wins and losses matter, we got this whole ranking system now.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many undefeated women left. If you actually go into this week, the only undefeated women in singles competition heading into Full Gear is Brandy Rhodes, Riho, and Emi Sakura.
Yep.
And 2 of them are going to be facing off later in the show.
Right, and that was the other point I was going to make. So I think, one of the things that before they started having regular television, everybody was kind of sure of, was that the women's division was really going to be a strong addition of AEW, and it really hasn't been, There's certainly been some good matches, but it hasn't been their strong suit yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at some point, the one thing that they have been really building towards with the vignettes and everything has building up Brandy Rhodes alongside Awesome Kong. So I imagine they'll come out, interrupt a match or something at some point. I don't know if it'll be in this match specifically. It could come later on in the night, maybe after the title match. But I imagine we'll see them at some capacity.
Yeah, I think so. I think Priestley taking a win here, too. Obviously puts her undefeated 1-0 in singles competition.
Sets her up as a heel.
So it sets her up as a top heel if Riho is going to be retaining, which we'll talk about later on.
Yep.
I think just they need something. Plus, if B becomes a number 1 contender, eventually wins the title off of Riho, then that can set up the chase for Britt Baker, because I think they want Britt Baker to be the top woman in this women's division. However, there's a lot that work needs to be done in the women's division. I think a lot of AEW fans would agree. if they had to pick the weakness right now, it is the women's division. Out of the tag team singles, men, singles, women, that's really where they're weak. So let them build the division first, and then you could build the story with Britt Baker and then eventually have her be the AEW Women's Champion.
They've done a really good job of building up the faction of the Inner Circle and pretty much building up all of the men who are really in the mid-card to upper mid-card to main event level. But for whatever reason, just the women who are involved in the women's division right now, they haven't really highlighted anybody too much. There's always time to make up for that, and I think they will correct that at some point. But right now, this will be a good match to really, like you said, get somebody, whether it's Britt Baker or B. Priestley, in that, going towards more of a title shot.
Right. So let's move on to the actual show itself, AEW Full Gear. And the first match we'll cover is one that was actually just built 4 or 5 days ago at AEW Dark, and that is Joey Janela versus Shawn Spears. So this was all set up after Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc got the win over Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy.
Right.
Tully Blanchard sets up an attack with Shawn Spears on Joey Janela where they end up burning his tongue with a cigarette. And then we did see something afterwards on AEW Dynamite to further this story, and the match became official on Thursday. So who do you got for this one, Joey Janela or Shawn Spears?
I am most certainly going with Shawn Spears here. To think that he was an individual who was heavily involved in the storyline with Cody Rhodes not too long ago, and to kind of see him in a position now where, leaving WWE, I think the expectation was he'd be a top guy there. Now, I certainly don't think he's at that level where you can put him right in the main event, but I think they can build him towards that and build him back up.
Right.
So this is probably a good stepping stone match for him. I don't see Joey Janela as being a guy that will ever make it to the main event type, level. Shawn Spears, I can see him as somebody that can make it there eventually. So Shawn Spears needs to win this in a convincing fashion, in my opinion.
Now, I agree with you in a lot of aspects there. I think Shawn Spears definitely needs the win to build him up as one of the top heels, especially with Tully Blanchard. It wouldn't really make sense for Tully Blanchard to be Shawn Spears' manager if he keeps losing.
Right.
Like, Tully Blanchard's there to give Shawn Spears the rub and help him succeed in AEW, unlike where he was in WWE, where he just kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
However, I do think AEW sees a lot of potential in Joey Janela.
Joey Nutella, as Cornette likes to call
him. Or Jelly Janela, whatever Cornette likes to call him. I know Jim Cornette is not liked with our fan base here, the AEW world, but nonetheless, I think this could surprise people as this being a very good match. I've been very shocked with how well Joey Janela has been as a wrestler. Mm-hmm. We know how he could be as a deathmatch type wrestler, more the shock and all kind of thing. But when it comes down to actually wrestling a match, executing moves, and telling a story, he's actually not that bad.
Yeah. I would say he's not the worst, and he's certainly not the best.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that is kind of little mind-boggling to me, and I think it gets lost in the fact that, there is a lot of good things that AEW has been doing. Where has Darby Allin been? He was obviously one of the guys that went over or was in the title match. He looked like he was going to get a strong push. That seemed like somebody who could have been put into that match or in this match specifically. And, it could have been one of those matches that the fans could definitely buy into a little bit more. Just because based on physical appearance alone, most people would probably consider Shawn Spears to be the alpha male in comparison to Joey Janela. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I think Shawn Spears is going to win this one.
I'm actually going to go with Joey Janela. So far, I think we are opposite on both ends. You have Britt.
Yes.
And I have B. You have Spears. I have Janela. So, again, guys, thank you for joining us here for the AEW Full Gear Predictions and Live Preview. If you're new to the show, we talk everything from AEW, WWE, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So subscribe, hit that bell for notifications as, Ralph is getting a little bit of the bubbly going. Although that's not bubbly, it's beer. I understand that.
La Champion.
Maybe. We'll talk about him later. But if you guys have any questions, drop them in on the chat and you'll cut the line and we'll answer them instantly by donating on a super chat here. So all you got to do, hit that $sign in the chat. Give us any dollar amount. We greatly appreciate it. Give us your comment, give us your question, and we will answer that for you. Let's move on to the next match, though. This is a rematch of the AEW Dynamite debut, which was Hangman Adam Page against Pac. I believe we officially say it as Pac. It's not Pac. It is Pac. It is officially Pac. We got a little bit of this story at the end of AEW Dynamite where Pac cost Hangman Page the match by low blowing him. And, you know, both of them having some decent promos throughout the month of the bill for this match. Hangman Page is going on record saying he's going to do some cowboy shit in this match.
Right.
Hunter Horse Helmsley is unfortunately passed away, so I don't know. We won't see him, but what kind of cowboy shit do you expect to see in this match?
Well, I expect to see a really damn good wrestling match out of these two. Definitely looking forward to this match, and this is interesting because I think whoever wins this match, and it could be this match or it could be the Omega match, could end up being the number one contender. So that can be interesting for a number of reasons. Let's assume Hangman ends up winning and Cody wins the title. There's that dynamic there. If Hangman wins and Jericho retains, then we have the rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Pac is definitely somebody that they've been pushing really hard. They've been highlighting him in all of his wins, and he's been made to look strong. I want to see Pac win, but I also feel like Hangman needs the win, so I'm going to lean more towards Hangman getting the win here. But I definitely think it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, I agree. I know their first match on Dynamite was it felt a little off just because of, I think it was the TV time and trying to condense it all with commercials and whatnot. So I think that was an issue. Now that they don't have to worry about that, like a real TV time limit, I think this match will go very close to whatever time limit they give them, which might be 20 minutes.
Yep.
So I think this probably will go like 15 to 18 minutes.
Yep.
Hard hitting, good moves, good storytelling. I think this could be a really good match. I do see Hangman Page getting his win back here.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. I know people might say, well, that's 50-50 booking. WWE gets crap for that all the time. It's not always a bad thing to do 50-50 booking. As long as the matches are spread out.
Exactly.
You know, we might not see Pac versus Hangman until maybe Double or Nothing in May of 2020. So I'm okay with it. Set this up, and then Hangman Page might be back in the running for the AEW Championship.
I won't have a problem with Hangman getting his win back here or having it split 1-1 because obviously it would set up perhaps a trilogy between the two. The other thing is, too, when you in comparison to WWE's typical 50-50 booking, it's usually week by week.
Mm-hmm.
So one guy gets a win one week, he loses the next week. This has been spread out over the course of the last several months,
right?
You know, so I think it'll work fine. And like I said, if you set up the trilogy match somewhere down the road, that'll work as well.
All right. So you're going with?
I am going with Hangman in this one.
I'm going with Pac. So we're going to be
just
separate.
Said Hangman.
Oh, you're right. Right. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm going with Hangman. So the first time we're agreeing on this.
Okay.
Maybe I should drink and clear my head, but this water, man, it's messing with my head, I guess. All right, let's head up to the tag team division. The Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz. This is going to be a good match. You would think they want to give Santana and Ortiz the win on their first big show.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a win already against some, jobber tag team where Ortiz was doing that cat thing, biting the ropes and all that stuff. But there's been times where you thought the Young Bucks would put that tag team over, and they didn't. And then there were times where you thought the Young Bucks were going to go over, and they let the other team over. Case in point, Private Party.
Right.
So I don't know really how to predict this one. This might be the hardest to predict. And it's going to be interesting because, as far as match quality, because we know how the Bucks are. They're very spotty, very high flying. And Santana and Ortiz are very stiff wrestlers, and they're not going to let back.
Yep.
So will that dynamic affect the quality of the match, knowing that the Bucks aren't really used to that kind of match? I think that dynamic actually will help the match overall.
Yep.
But I do think a win for Santana and Ortiz is 100% necessary. I don't know if it's 100% happening, But for this prediction, I will go with Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah, I'm going with Santana and Ortiz as well. Yeah, like you said, they really need to be featured. They need a big win in a big match, and this is really their first big match. I mean, they had that one match a couple of weeks ago on TV. They've had a couple of run-in spots, but this is really their opportunity, I think, to get a win over a top-tier team. And kudos to the Young Bucks, because they have been putting over some of the younger talent. Private Party as an example. They haven't really been put in a position where they've made themselves look strong just because, they're VPs or whatever. So I think that Santana and Ortiz need the win, and I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah. So I think after the first two matches we disagreed, we go two matches and we agree. So again, thank you guys for joining us for the AEW Full Gear live preview and predictions. Give us a like, share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. And if you want to donate and help us out here, go to the Super Chat, donate any dollar amount, help, and put in your question or comment. We'll answer that for you. I did just see someone said that the Super Chat didn't work. Try again. We might have something here where you might have 60 seconds in between chats, so maybe you were just in that threshold. I don't know. So if you guys don't try the first time, do it again. Help support the channel. We do this for you guys. So, yeah, that's it. So let's head off to our next match. Staying in the tag team division, we will go with the AEW Tag Team Championship match. I guess this is technically the top three teams in the AEW tournament because Private Party won the bronze medal.
What did you think of that, the whole medal thing?
It was
a little strange. I thought it was a little cheesy.
I mean, I guess it was a way to give Private Party something if they're going to. It was a little weird, different.
I guess credit to them for trying to think outside the box.
Right.
I thought it was a little strange, especially because I don't ever remember it being announced or anything like that. And the guys looked a little goofy coming out with the medals. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but either way.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% fan of it, but
no harm, no foul.
No, but it is what it is. But we have the AEW champions, SCU. We have the Lucha Brothers, and we have Private Party. This one, I think this is a great move for AEW because they want to showcase Private Party. We know the kind of match Lucha Brothers and we know the kind of match SCU can have. We know the kind of matches like Private Party, and we were critical on this, that Private Party are still kind of green, and if they're not going exactly according to plan, they kind of stop and don't know where to go. And the Lucha Brothers are kind of the same way. So SCU in this situation are going to be the ring generals.
I think so too.
Because of their experience and know how to lead the match. I think Kazarian and Scorpio Sky are going to do a lot of direction going here. And that's not a bad thing. I think this is going to end up being a really good match. I do see SCU retaining. They just won them a couple weeks ago. I don't see why they would drop the titles instantly. And if they do drop the titles, I would think it's Lucha Brothers, not Private Party.
Yeah, and this match, I think everybody knows what we can kind of expect out of this match. There's not going to be a whole lot of tags. It's going to be pure chaos, a lot of flips, a lot of dives. This is going to be the one that I think really they go out there. It's just one of those matches that's all over the place, but it's chaos where the fans are going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Kudos to AEW for the way this was booked, because I think that, Private Party over the last couple of weeks, there have been spots where they've been looked a little vulnerable and looked a little green. They're in there with two of the best tag teams in the world, both of them very experienced, so they'll be able to cover that up, I think.
Right.
It won't be like they're out there with just another team that has a ton of experience where if things start to go south, they got to correct it by themselves. There's two professional teams out there too.
Right.
So I'm definitely going to go with SCU in this one as well. I can't see them losing the titles, especially after just winning them a couple of weeks ago.
Do we see Christopher Daniels tonight?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we haven't really seen him. If they're going to keep him off TV and bring him back for a big spot, maybe this is the night he comes back.
I would think so. I think this is the time to bring Christopher Daniels back. I know he was on a recent episode of Being the Elite where he dressed up like the girl from Pulp Fiction. So in that regard, I totally would see that Christopher Daniels comes out. Do they start bringing in the Freebird rule? And he actually inserts himself into the match. That would be interesting, especially because the story was that Scorpio Sky saved SCU. They win the tag team titles because of him, but Christopher Daniels was the one that was supposed to be there. So do they, at first, hey, we're it's like the New Day, we're a tag team, but then there's that rift because it was Scorpio Sky that won the titles, but then Christopher Daniels just comes right in and goes, I got it from here.
And who knows, they could also do a spot before the match where, because remember, the Lucha Brothers were the ones that knocked Daniels out of that match. Mm-hmm. They jumped him. Mm-hmm. That we could get that again, where maybe it happens and Kazarian or Scorpio Sky get injured, and now he has to come back in. So, it might happen.
Right.
Would make the match interesting and add a little bit of drama to it. So I guess we'll see.
Right. And if you guys have any questions here, put them in the chat. Put a hashtag question before your question so I can read it. And also, if you want to donate to the Super Chat, cut the line in front of everybody. All you got to do is hit that $sign in the chat. Give us any dollar donation, and we would greatly appreciate it. We'll answer your question instantly. And just like that, we got a Super Chat. Thank you to A16 Adam Walker, huge fan of the show. He talks to us on Twitter.
For you.
Yep. So this is a genuine question. Do we see any hint or video of Marty Scurll tonight? His contract is up soon, and they had the Dead Friend 1 on the BTE teasing him. Here's the thing about that. He's contractually still with Ring of Honor until the end of November.
As far as we know.
So if that happens where they tease Marty Scurll, that could potentially be contract tampering. And Ring of Honor have already sued WWE once for contract tampering when Fish and O'Reilly got signed to WWE and Adam Cole. That whole ordeal. That's why the Undisputed Era didn't debut for almost 6 months after they signed. Mm-hmm. If they say that Marty Scurll's in AEW, how does he know he's going to AEW unless AEW talked to him while he's still under contract? That's contract tampering.
The other thing is, too, a few weeks ago when Omega made that special entrance on Halloween, he had that video package. I actually thought that was going to end up being a tease for Marty Scurll because of some of the language that was being used about his friends and you can never escape, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't end up following up on that the following week, so this week of AEW. So I guess that wasn't necessarily where they were going with that. But again, we talked about this maybe about a month ago. I'd like to see him in AEW, but I could also see him going to NXT because he does have a few friends there, and I believe his girlfriend.
Yep, Deonna Purrazzo's there, which I don't know why they haven't showcased her on NXT yet with all the women. Her and Chelsea Green. They just brought in Santana Garrett. I mean, that would be awesome if Marty's going to be the hottest free agent come December 1st.
And he's going to, you know what? And this is why AEW being formed is also good for the athletes as well, because he's going to probably get a much bigger contract than he would have gotten. He's either going to get signed by the WWE or AEW. But if WWE wants to get him, knowing that in all likelihood he might end up in AEW because his whole group of friends is there, he's going to get a much bigger contract than he normally would have. So
no, I totally agree.
Good for the fans, and it's good for the athletes as well.
And just know that, I guess I just noticed in the Super Chat, I guess Marty and Deonna broke up. If that's true, I didn't see it. So if it's true, thanks for the heads up. But even so,
AEW confirmed.
AEW confirmed then. But even so, he's got friends with, I'm sure he's friends with Adam Cole and other people in NXT. So it's going to be very interesting where he heads once December 1st happens. And even if he signs, it doesn't mean he's going to instantly come back. He could be a couple months from now before we see him. So you might not see him in either show until, February, March of 2020. Who knows? Maybe he waits until Villain Enterprise is all ready to go. And
hell, maybe he shows up tonight and Tony Khan says, you know what, we're going to buy out your contract.
It's possible.
Who the hell knows? I mean, if he's got that much money and they're that adamant about bringing him in, why the hell not?
Sure. But All right. Again, thank you, Adam, for the £5 donation on the Super Chat. If anybody else wants to, just click that $sign. Give us any donation you can with your question, and we will answer it for you. If anybody wants to put a question in, regardless, just hashtag the word question, and we'll answer it at the end of the show. Now, moving on. Are you good?
Oh, yeah.
Is that good shit?
This isn't the buy-in. This is the pregame.
All right, let's move on now to the AEW Women's Championship match that was just thrown together on Tuesday. This was announced that Riho will be facing her trainer, Emi Sakura. Now, people wondering, wins and losses matter. She has a losing record. How is she the number one contender? Emi Sakura is actually 1-0 in singles competition.
Yeah.
So that is their way around it.
I got to tell you, I'm not really too, no pun intended, I'm not really bought in on this match. You know, and usually I credit AEW with doing a really good job of building up the matches and intriguing people and making sure that you want to see the matches, especially considering this is a title match.
Right.
I really don't care about it too much. And that's not really, it's not really...
Well, because there's no build to it.
Yeah, it's not really meant to be a knock on either of them, but... You know, they could probably go out there and have a halfway decent match, but a match is only going to be so good if there's no drama to it, if there's no buy-in. It's only going to it's just another match, you
right?
Know? And I say this all the time. There's a big difference between watching a baseball game between, like, you know, the San Francisco Giants and the Diamondbacks. If you're watching a Yankee game and a Yankee and Red Sox game,
right?
There's a lot of drama that's involved in that. You can buy into it. People get excited for it. And this just seems like it could be a good match, but I'm not, you know, I'm just not into it.
I understand the dynamic of the whole, you know, teacher versus student, but they just are telling this story now,
right?
Like 4 days into the show, where maybe they could have had Emi Sakura get a couple wins here and there, and then it's like, oh, the teacher is facing the student. Now, I understand there could have been some visa issues trying to get Emi from Japan to do some shows in AEW. Maybe that's why she hasn't been on as much, trying to get those visas situated. Because I know Cody mentioned in his media call yesterday how, you know, there's a lot of international women in their division, and part of the issue is getting visas for them. Maybe the reason why Emi hasn't been on as much is because of that. I could be wrong, but... This match, though, I think could surprise people because of the lack of build, the lack of people probably not caring as much because of that. But I think because Emi knows Riho and Riho knows Emi, their dynamic and their chemistry will work very well and end up helping them out. So, nonetheless, I don't see how Riho does not walk out of this show, the AEW Women's Champion. She has to win. Sakura is not the person to take the title off her. I think eventually it's going to be either B. Priestley, Awesome Kong, Brandy Rhodes, or Nyla Rose that takes the title off her. So, all right. Now we're heading into our final two matches. Again, if you guys want to put a question into the chat, use the hashtag question. Put your question on there, and then I'll read them after the show. But if you want to cut the line right now, and we'll answer them instantly, donate to the Super Chat. Hit that $sign. Give us any donation you can. Give us your question or comment, and we will read them instantly. But let's go to the Lights Out match. And that is Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. The build for this has been going on since before All Out, a match that was originally set for All Out. Obviously, because of Moxley's MRSA infection, he could not participate. So now we get it here at Full Gear. Kenny Omega with this whole interesting storyline with him, kind of going to his darker side. Moxley with the purveyor of violence and kind of being a very Stone Cold-esque character where he does not give two shits about anything, wants to beat up anybody at any cause, and whatever happens to Kenny Omega is on AEW's hands because now it is lights out, non-sanctioned. So I will ask you this, Ralph. Making this unsanctioned, does that mean Kenny's definitely winning, or is Moxley definitely winning?
This is tough. This is a tough match, certainly, because wins and losses matter in AEW. But I think what they're saying is it doesn't matter, right? This isn't going to reflect on their wins and losses.
Exactly.
And it's not going to really affect where they're positioned in the title picture. So, I don't know. This is tough. I want to lean towards I want Moxley to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Moxley will win. But because they're so even as far as, I guess stardom or how
star
the fans,
power,
how the fans view them, position in the company.
Yep.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because Kenny is a very technical wrestler and Moxley can do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watched Kenny Omega's match with Joey Janela, certainly he's not afraid to do certain hardcore things that I don't know. I haven't really seen from Kenny Omega.
Here's where I think this match is going to go. And if anybody follows New Japan Pro Wrestling, they know what match I'm talking about. And that is the G1 Finals between him and Tetsuya Naito. Mm-hmm. That match, I think, is where this match is going to be. They were all over the place. They were very stiff. They did some dangerous moves with pile drivers through tables, Hurricanranas that landed on their heads. Very scary match. So those that are wondering if Kenny Omega is going to be too soft in a match like this, watch that match before the buy-in or during the buy-in, or if you have a low,
find the highlights on
you
YouTube.
could definitely find the match. Watch it. I believe that was the 2016 final. Kenny ended up winning. So yeah, I think it was 2016. So, yeah. So I definitely. I think because it's non-sanctioned, I think Moxley is winning to further his anger towards the fact that it's non-sanctioned.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Right, because if he loses and then wants a rematch with Kenny where the win matters, why should he get it? Because he lost.
Right.
So this makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
So in that regard, the
other thing you got to consider too, if Kenny's the one who is really the only one who's playing up this whole hardcore persona, which, I think we talked about this a little earlier. So Joey Janela is certainly known for that. Jimmy Havoc is certainly known for that, but they're not making it a point to tell you that, hey, these guys are really the hardcore guys. They're really trying to build that as part of Moxley's persona. Like, that's a big part of his character. So I think that him losing really affects that certain aspect of his reputation. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would be a good idea to have him lose.
I don't know. So at the end of this, I mean, this one is just such a hard match to predict.
It is.
It really is.
That's a good thing. You don't want it to be so
predictable.
Yeah, so easily predictable.
I mean, I know they want to they really want to book Moxley strong. They really want to book Kenny strong. And we always get on WWE's case for always booking themselves in a corner. But I think they booked themselves in a corner, but kind of got them out of the corner instantly by making this non-sanctioned.
Yeah. Yep.
Because their focus on wins and losses matter, and this match does not affect that. So I think either way, they got themselves out of it.
Do you think we get another non-finish? Meaning,
how would you non-finish this?
They could.
This isn't WWE.
No, I know, but let's say, for example, they both climb like a scaffolding or something, and they both fall, and they both have to be taken out in an ambulance, something like that.
That could be.
Could they do that? They could potentially do that. Would I want to see that? No, I wouldn't. But that's a way to protect both of them.
Right.
This is the problem when you put two of your high-profile guys in matches like this, because you want to protect Moxley's personality. And you want to protect Omega, but someone's got to win, somebody's got to lose, unless you go with a cheap finish like that where the fans are going to get pissed off.
Right. So at the end of this, who do you have winning?
I have Moxley.
I will say Moxley as well. But before we head to our main event, I'd like to thank Tom Soley for giving us $1.99 for his super chat. And this isn't a question. It's more of a comment. But I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this, especially now that we're heading into the main event. He says MJF turns on Cody just as he's about to win. Here's what I think about this. And we could kind of tie this into our main event, which is Cody versus Chris Jericho for the AEW Championship. 60-minute time limit. If it goes to a draw, we have 3 judges. This is going to be a very interesting match. I pray to God this does not go 60 minutes. The longer this match goes, the worse it's going to be, because I honestly don't think Jericho can last 60 minutes. I think this match...
He's certainly older.
He is. So, I mean, if they... Don't get me wrong, Cody and Jericho are going to have a good match. But I don't want this going 60 minutes. And I think people saw that and go, oh, they're going to have a 60-minute time limit draw and judges. This is definitely going 60 minutes. No. Well, this is for when eventually that happens. I think that's a good touch. It brings an MMA boxing feel to it, where
it adds more legitimacy. It has a more realistic feel to it.
And I think
something different.
Right. I think that is a huge plus here for AEW. And I think Tony Khan, if he was the one that came up with that idea, great idea. Making it a sports feel, legitimate.
Now, it also depends. Let's suppose it does go 60 minutes, and now this is professional wrestling. This isn't now in MMA too. You do get people who times where, especially where the wrong decision is made and it pisses people off. Now, how do you determine a winner and loser in a professional wrestling match when it goes to judges? So it's good as far as something that is different and adds a more realistic feature to it. But then let's suppose somebody gets the win tonight, and it's like, well, how the hell did you determine who the winner was of a professional wrestling match? I mean, what are the rules? Like the UFC and MMA has specific rules.
Right.
Damage, strikes, octagon control, all this type of stuff.
Well, they do like what, 1 to 10 or something like that?
But I mean, there's specific metrics that they're basing their decision off of. Now, is there something that the judges are going to have? Or are they just going to say, yeah, who are the judges? Let's assume that if the judges...
I was going to say, we're going to predict who we think the 3 judges are.
So let's assume one of those judges is DDP, right? We know that DDP has a close personal relationship with Cody Rhodes. So, there's that element to it. So right now, at face value, it seems like a good idea. But if they actually go with using the judges as part of the win and the outcome tonight, do the fans accept that, or do they get pissed off at the outcome?
It depends what happens. If it's like where Cody dominates, but then, it ends up where the judges say Jericho won, that just puts heat on Jericho, and that's totally fine. If it's where Jericho looked so much better in the match, but then Cody wins, then we get this is Cody booking himself to be the top guy, Triple H treatment, all that crap. Here's what I say. First of all, I think the 3 judges are going to be guys that are legends. Yep. And those guys that are at StarCast this weekend. I think one that's definitely going to be a judge is the Great Muta. I don't know why. I just think the Great Muta he was showcased as having one of the big panels that night, this weekend. So I definitely see the Great Muta being one of the 3 judges.
CM Punk was at StarCast.
That was in Chicago, though. He's not going to be a judge. I mean, if he does, the freaking internet would explode. But maybe it's Soul Train Jones. Maybe it's Sting. Maybe it's Magnum TA. Maybe it's RoboCop. I swear to God, if it's RoboCop, I'm going to throw the remote at the TV. That would be the stupidest thing ever.
AA, Malenko.
It could be AA. Could be Malenko.
Bret Hart.
Is he there?
No, but I mean, it doesn't mean he can't be.
True. He already presented the AEW championship. I think Medusa's there. Alundra Blaze. I think she's there. Heck, what if Tony Schiavone ends up being one of the judges?
Yeah. Well, I think the only way this works, I think, is if they go the 60 minutes and then it's got to be a really back and forth battle. It's got to be fairly even where the fans don't know who the decision is going to go to. They have to have some type of point system, and they better explain that before, because you can't just have it where, like, what the hell are they judging? Like, there has to be some type of basis.
Right.
That they're going off of,
I hope they explain it, because if they do what they did with the tag team division and just go, okay, guys, you guys know how tag team works, and then they have completely different rules. Yeah. They have to explain it.
Anyway, who do you got in this?
I have Jericho retaining.
I do too.
And I know there's the stipulation where if Cody loses, he can't challenge for the title again. They're going to book their way around that somehow. This isn't the first time they've done this. Stone Cold Steve Austin has had many times where if he lost, he'd get fired or couldn't challenge for a title or this or that, and he always ended up persevering. So I think it definitely is going to be Chris Jericho retaining, and Cody's going to be the top babyface of this company, whether you think it's a Triple H treatment or you honestly believe he should be or not. He's got so much support behind him. He definitely is the top babyface. Maybe not just in AEW, but in professional wrestling right now. Let him be the chaser. So many of the great babyfaces were much better as a chaser than they were a champion. Mm-hmm. You know, look at Kofi Kingston this year. Was a much better chaser. That story leading into the WWE Championship match was much better than his entire 6-month run as WWE Champion. Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
Dusty Rhodes was a great chaser. Stone Cold Steve Austin was a 6-time WWF champion, but never had the title that long because everyone knew he was a much better chaser than a champion.
Especially when he had to overcome the odds of, you know, Vince McMahon and you know, the corporation and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that even though there's this stipulation, Cody losing the match, they'll figure out a way around that. Right. They always do. It's professional wresling, so I'm not too worried about that.
No, I'm not at all. But we got sidetracked there. I did notice the super chat there. Brett Lockfeld. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, sorry. But thank you for the $4.99 super chat. He just said, love your channel. Just wanted to support you both. Awesome, man. Awesome. If anybody else wants to donate, hit that $sign. Give us any donation you want. Give us a question or a comment. We will answer them. We're going to do a little over and under. Once we do the over under, we'll head to your questions in the chat here. Again, if you want to cut that line instantly, pop right in and we'll talk about it. So over under Chris Jericho versus Cody going 25 minutes. Over. How long do you think you're going? I mean, they have the 60-minute time limit. There's 9 matches on this card.
Look, I think that they wouldn't have the judges there for no reason. I think it adds a nice element to the match. I think this goes to the judges. I really do.
You really think so?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I think the longer this goes, I think the harder it's going to be to watch.
Of course. I mean, there's very few times where a match goes that long. I mean, Kenny Omega and Okada did it. Brett and Shawn did it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brock.
Well, Brock and Angle did a 60-minute Iron Man.
Half hour?
No, that was a 60.
60-minute?
Triple H and The Rock did a 60 Iron Man.
I mean,
but and I saw in the chat there, Okada and Omega did 60 minutes. But here's the thing. Here's the difference.
Chris Jericho.
Everyone that we're talking about here were in the prime of their careers when they're doing these 60-minute matches. Chris Jericho is 48 years old.
Ric Flair was doing it.
Ric Flair was still like in a prime, physical shape.
I bet you Ric Flair had hour-long matches past his 40s, 50s.
But he was still in such great shape. We saw Jericho.
So you're saying it's because Jericho's pudgy.
It's just because watch his, you look at his match with Hangman, and it's just like the longer that match went, the harder it was to watch. He just can't hold on. And even with Kazuchika Okada, that one was still a hard match to watch. It's just hard to watch the longer it goes. And it's no real knock to Jericho. Jericho's still a great wrestler, great heel, but I just don't know if he has the capacity. And yes, he just turned 49 today. I doubt he wants to wrestle 60 minutes on his birthday. Yeah. He wants to have a nice 20-minute match, win his match, drink his bubbly, continue to be the AEW champion, and that's it. The longer this goes, it's harder.
I say over, you say under. What's the next one?
Next one. 6 Canadian Destroyers, over, under.
Let me just look at these matches quick. Less. I think we certainly will see one in the SCU Bucks match.
You mean Lucha Brothers?
I'm sorry, yeah. Yes.
I'm
going to say less. I'm going to say 3.
It's going to be close. I will say it's probably going to be like 5 and just under that. All right, next over under is 15 Tope Suicidas.
15?
15 Tope Suicidas.
Oh, man. Less. I think 10 is a more appropriate number for suicide dives. I don't know what a Tope Suicida is.
It is.
I'm more of a traditionalist.
A Tope Suicida is a suicide dive. It's just Spanish.
I know what it is, but
I actually was.
I'm not going to concede to that.
I actually saw on Facebook a while ago. Someone actually went on this huge rant about why it should be suicide dive and not tope suicida. And first off, the guy spelled it completely wrong. He the way he spelled it was like an Italian dish and not a wrestling move. And everyone was just like, dude, you do know suicide dive is just tope suicida. It's the same words, just different language. But I'm going over. Definitely over 15 tope.
Okay.
Because you're going to get one in Page versus Pac. You're going to get at least 3 or 4 in the Young Bucks match. Probably 1 or 2 in the SCU Lucha Brothers private party match. Kenny and Moxley, you know Moxley will do one. Kenny might do one.
Do we get thumbtacks?
Oof, do we get thumbtacks?
We
might.
The build to this whole story has been the barbed wire.
Right.
So we have to get thumbtacks or we have to get barbed wire.
We're definitely going to get barbed wire. But I would take a barbed wire baseball bat over a barbed wire broomstick any day if I'm the person using the weapon.
Do we get tube lights?
Tube what?
Tube lights.
Tube lights.
Lighting. I certainly hope
If
not.
Joey Janela was in the match, yes. And if the special guest referee of Kenny versus Moxley is superhuman, definitely, but I don't think so.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. You know, for all the juggalos and juggalettes out there. Yeah, definitely over 15 tope suicidas.
Let's get to some questions.
Let's get to some questions here. Again, if you guys want to add to the questions here, we've got about maybe 15 minutes before we head out. So just hashtag the word question and put your question after that, and I will answer them in the order that they came in. Let's see. Ralph, got a little bit of the bubbly. Yes. Woo! You got 2 different beers going on. One is Bud Light. What's the other one?
The other one, for anybody that lives in Connecticut or close by, New England Brewing Company. This is G-Bot. I believe it's 8.5%. This is some of the best beer you could ever buy.
Can you buy that at Amazon? Because we can link that and, people could buy it off Amazon.
Certainly try.
Yeah. Well,
let them know we sent you. Maybe they'll give us a little bit of the money.
Yeah, if it's on Amazon, we'll try to get it. Oh, we got a super chat here. Let me pop that in here. Darlene Bembai, thank you very much. Huge fan of your show. Keep up the great work. Do you think there'll be any surprise debuts tonight?
I don't know who there could possibly be. Wardlow.
I was just going to say, Wardlow.
Yeah, we got the hype package for him once,
I
think, on Dynamite.
It's funny, too, because I tweeted Tony Khan and Cody asking if we're going to see Sadie Gibbs and Wardlow because we've gotten packages, but no actual...
Sadie Gibbs was on AEW Dark this week.
Yeah, Sadie Gibbs has been on. She's been on Dark. She's been on Dynamite. And she's looking good. I mean, I hope they push her very well.
I told you about her months before she got signed.
Yeah.
Remember I said look out for that girl?
Yeah. Noah Kendrell, thank you very much for your $5 donation. Do you think AEW unsanctioned matches will lead to WWE bringing back a hardcore division? Whoop, whoop. No. See, it's just a different time. If this wasn't a publicly owned company, they might. But I think the closest you'll get is Extreme Rules, War Games, Hell in a Cell. That's as close to hardcore you're going to get.
I mean, Vince said it himself, and they don't even necessarily need to do that type of stuff. I mean, they did it back in the day. But
right.
I mean, if they go closer to what some of the matches are, like on NXT and stuff like that, I think they'll be fine. The problem with WWE, I think we all know, that the campy storylines, the matches that just don't live up to the hype, the bad builds. I don't think we're going to get any more hardcore type matches, Mick Foley type stuff out of WWE.
Right.
And do we really want to see it? I mean, look how gimmicky the Hell in the Cell match was and how bad that was received.
I think it was more gimmicky just because of the lighting. Like, if they continue this with Bray Wyatt with the red light, that has to stop.
That needs to stop.
That really has to stop. What is the main event going to be? This is from Will freaking Ospreay, not the real Will Ospreay, unless it really is, and that's freaking cool.
Match.
But no, I disagree. I think because it's being called a lights out match, Cody versus Jericho technically will be the main event.
So you think,
but Moxley and Omega will be the last
so
match.
You think Justin Roberts is going to go out there and say, "This is the end"? Didn't they do this once before?
They did it for Fyter Fest with Moxley and Janela, where this is the main event, or we've had our main event.
The show is now over,
and they're going to do the lights, which I think is stupid. But
yeah, I don't like that, especially because I'm more of a traditionalist. I really feel like the championship match should always go on last. The only exception that I ever felt that should have been made for that rule is Undertaker wrestling at WrestleMania before the streak was broken.
Yeah.
That's, to me, is like beyond the title, beyond main event level type stuff. So,
right.
But I think the title, the heavyweight championship, should always be in the main event picture.
Now here's
match.
Now here's a question. I see it was asked by Noah if WWE would have an unsanctioned division or a hardcore division. But is AEW kind of setting up an unsanctioned division themselves? Because we have Joey Janela, we have Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, who are totally comfortable with having this. We've had 3 unsanctioned matches already in AEW. I don't know if they'll do a full-fledged division, but it's definitely something that they definitely like to keep in their back pocket. Yeah. I hope it doesn't get to where they're going to be doing this all the time.
That's what I was going to say. Bear in mind, once you do something and you start to do it more and more frequently, it starts to lose its effect. So when you look at like the Hell in the Cell with, for example, Mick Foley and Undertaker, where he threw Mick Foley off the top of the cell, like it's, how do you top that?
Right.
You know, you can't unless you physically kill somebody in the ring. How are you going to top that?
Right.
You know, Shane McMahon certainly tried to top that, but it loses its value every single time you go to the well. When you go to the well one too many times, it just stops to work. So
right.
The way they're kind of using these matches, not as frequently here and there, I think it's working. But if it's where now on every episode of Dynamite we're getting a hardcore match, or every pay-per-view there's some unsanctioned match,
right?
Eventually the fans will get bored with it, just like they get bored with matches in WWE. So I think just keep doing what you're doing now. Don't create a whole division specific to that match.
Right. I totally agree. Like, don't, as you always say, don't go to the well one too many times. I think if they keep bringing up these unsanctioned and lights out and hardcore matches, it's going to lose its luster. So, next question here. And if you guys want to put a question in the chat before we head out in about, we'll probably go another like 10, 15 minutes. Just hashtag the word question. You want to cut the line, donate to the super chat, and we'll answer instantly. So, next question here from Freddie Finch. Tessa could show tonight, ? I guess the question really is, will Tessa show tonight? No.
She's in a main event, right? She's being positioned to challenge for the Impact Heavyweight Championship against
which is
Sam
being
Callihan.
defended tonight, might I add. As AEW Full Gear is happening, Impact is putting on a show where the main event is Brian Cage versus Sami Callihan. And Tessa Blanchard is also in a match. I think it's a tag match where she's tagging with Jordan Grace. I forget. I haven't seen the full card yet, but I was told about it, and a fan of Impact Wrestling was talking to me about this. And you know how the whole counter-programming thing with WWE, but Impact Wrestling is doing it, and no one is complaining. But first off, Impact Wrestling's fan base is much smaller, and honestly, how many people even knew that Impact Wrestling was having a show tonight unless you watch the show?
Yeah.
So
wasn't their last pay-per-view taped on somebody's phone?
Is that true?
I'm pretty sure that's true.
If that's true, that's bad.
Yeah.
But they got this whole Access TV deal. They shouldn't be doing their pay-per-views on cell phones. Oh, if that's the case, that's bad. Someone asked who in the blue hell is Omega. Well, you're on the wrong show if that's the case. I see Ralph has been drinking a little tonight. Did I miss something, or is there a WWE main roster pay-per-view tonight? No, this is actually the real Ralph. Outside of the Squared Circle Psychobabble, Ralph likes to have a beer or two.
Or nine.
But he tries to tone it down for the show so he doesn't say anything stupid, but sometimes that happens and he pisses off everybody anyway.
Take exception to that. I'm very critical of WWE on this show all of the time.
Yes. No, it's true, but sometimes if you notice in our comment sections on previous episodes, you'll know which ones I'm answering and you know which ones he's answering. So, let's see if there's what other questions we got here. Someone asking why not 60 minutes because Omega and Okada went 60 minutes. Omega's 35, Okada's 31. That's why. Let's see. Soul Train Jones as a judge. It could be. We could see Soul Train Jones as a judge here. Wasn't Benoit's kid backstage at an AEW thing recently? I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was too.
I don't think he'll be a judge or showing up, but that could be a hell of a surprise. But no one really knows who he is yet, other than, it's Chris Benoit's kid. Do we finally see Marty tonight? We already answered that. No. Will we see Ryback show tonight?
That's interesting. Ryback and Stu Bennett, because he had a conversation with Conrad.
Yep.
And he said that he felt like he was almost ready to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And did he say he was talking to I don't know if he said he was talking with him. I don't want to say that. I don't want to go to that extent. But I did listen to it, and he said he was at least interested in him and Stu Bennett coming back as a tag team.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
The problem is this. Not Chris Jericho. Cody Rhodes has been adamant that he doesn't want to just take in former WWE guys.
Right.
Now, again, a guy like Ryback, a guy like Wade Barrett or Stu Bennett, whatever you want to call him, if they go there, that takes away from positions for guys like Darby Allin, guys like that.
Mm-hmm. So
pick your poison. Do you want those type of guys to be signed to AEW? I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I think Ryback's an interesting one because one thing that AEW doesn't really have yet is size.
Yes.
Ryback has
Luchasaurus.
Right. And he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
And they have Wardlow, but they haven't debuted him yet. So I could totally see Ryback coming and be a top guy instantly. I don't like if it's true that he wants to only tag with Stu Bennett.
He didn't say he only wants to. He said that he thinks the idea him and
it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, I think as a tag team, for some reason, I think that would fit better with NWA than it would with AEW. I don't know why. I just feel like that would be better off.
Yeah.
But
didn't Ken Kennedy show up at, or Mr. Anderson show up at?
Oh yeah, he's an NWA.
Yeah.
He's there. Aaron Steve,
I watched a little bit.
Damian Sandow.
I saw that. Yep.
And he's killing it. He's kind of bringing his Damian Sandow character to NWA, but doing it, with creative freedom. His like debut, he's telling everybody, can you not give me any eye contact? So the interviewer's like this. It was hilarious. And he's got some movie coming out next year called, what the heck was it called? Something with pirates. Someone help me in the chat. I'm drawing a blank on that.
Who gives a shit?
Will freaking Ospreay asked, what's the match of the year in your guys' opinion? That's a loaded question to ask on a prediction show. But if I had to say right now, off the top of my head, Cody versus Dustin at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's definitely up there. There were some damn good matches.
Kofi versus G1. Yep, there definitely were.
Lance Archer had some really good matches.
Archer versus Ospreay the first night was really good.
Ospreay had some really good matches. Forget about Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano. That was a freaking epic match.
We were there for both of them.
Yep.
Shingo versus Ospreay for the Super Juniors final was awesome. That's a loaded question. I think we might need to do a full episode to divulge into that. Towards the end of the year. Let's see. Will the Dudleys return to AEW? No, because Ray's with Ring of Honor and Devon is with WWE, unless we get Spike Dudley, which I don't know what he's doing recently. So,
Spike Dudley and Marco Stunt would make a hell of a match.
Because
that's the only match that Marco Stunt belongs in.
All right. Let's see here.
Twerp.
What's next? Is there another option to watch besides the pay-per-view, or do you have an app?
You have to get the Bleacher Report
So,
Live app.
so if you're in the United States, it's Bleacher Report Live. If it's international, it's the Fight TV app. So hopefully that answers your question. I know not every country gets it, Fight TV, so just depends on where you live. Unfortunately, I can't answer that fully. If you live in the United States, it's Bleacher Report Live. Will Dustin turn on Cody?
I said that to you before we went on.
Yeah. I doubt it. Here's the thing. And I think everybody is saying that MJF is going to be the one that turns. Honestly, he's a red herring in this whole thing. Everyone is pointing at MJF because of how much of a dick he is. And, it's his best friend. And, behind Cody's back, he's flipping off fans and calling them poor and whatever. He's a red herring. The guy that's turning is Hangman Page.
Yeah, I could see that happening too, especially because when you consider where he's been kind of positioned, he's been mostly overlooked and not really heavily promoted, so they could easily go with that storyline.
Yep, totally see that. Let's see. Any other questions? Sonata versus Okada, the G1. That was an awesome match. Yeah. How excited are you guys for Full Gear? So excited that we're going to be wrapping this up in just a minute. If anyone has any other questions, quickly put them in the hashtag question here, and we'll fire them as soon as we can. Darlene is saying, yeah, too soon for MJF to turn. It's not MJF. MJF is a red herring in this whole thing. It's Hangman Page. I'm telling you. Hangman Page. If there's going to be a heel turn tonight, it's Hangman Adam Paige. We got to get them to sponsor us, by the way. If they could do like national sending, we'll talk to them. So, yes, the pre-show is up, so I guess it's our time to wrap up here. Thank you all for joining us here for our AEW Full Gear live preview. We predicted the match cards. It's going to be a fun night. Join us tomorrow night where we will be doing our review of AEW Full Gear. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications for your home of unbiased wrestling conversations. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you all for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble, and enjoy AEW's Full Gear.